So the point of this video is just to show off my shiner because it's impressive, right? Hey guys, I'm Aleigha and this is Life in Lyrics. So you might notice that I have a bit of a black eye. This is not makeup, this is bruise. It's pretty impressive though, right? The other day I was rock climbing and it was my first time using Ice Tool's top roping. And I was climbing, trying to get the hang of it, and one of my tools slipped off the rock and popped me in the eye, and my face swelled up immediately, and this is the result. It didn't hurt right away. Actually, it didn't hurt at all, but I felt it swelling up, and it was like, there's something there. I got off the wall and everyone was like, whoa, this happened. So that was kind of embarrassing. Sometimes in life we give something our all and it's still not enough. You know, we mess up, come out bruised and a little embarrassed. But it's what we do with that circumstance that's important, like how we go forward and how we move on from that. And we're entering into this season of Lent, right? Where we're given this opportunity to strive to become saints, to become the people that we're created to be. It's a season of training like an athlete. Maybe at the beginning of Lent, you were like all gung-ho, like, yes, I am so ready for this. I'm gonna just conquer this Lent. Like, it's gonna be awesome. I'm ready for it. But then 3 days in, you're like failing already. And that's okay, you know, because like that's what this season is about. But sometimes we can get discouraged and think, well, I already messed up, so what's the point in trying again? But it's super important to try again, because when you're rock climbing, for example, in order to accomplish anything, you have to keep climbing. Like you might fall off a wall, but that's what makes it an exciting route, right? Like if you fall off, you just get back on and try again and work through the problem until you've got it. And that's what life's about, right? In life, we're going to be faced with challenges that sometimes we won't know how to handle. Sometimes it'll make us fall and get bruised and banged up, but how we handle those circumstances, that's what's important. Lent is this time for us to be able to set aside this time to train ourselves for those moments, those challenges that are going to arise in our lives. One of my biggest role models right now in climbing is Tommy Caldwell. He's awesome. His story is crazy. When Tommy was just a teenager, he was already a professional rock climber, and he and some friends went to this place called Kyrgyzstan on a rock climbing excursion. And while they were climbing, they were actually taken hostage for 6 days. So they were put through these horrendous circumstances where they weren't given enough food or water. They were constantly living in fear that they could die at any moment, right? These people could kill them. And eventually they realized that they weren't going to be rescued anytime soon, so they had to start taking matters into their own hands and figure out a way to escape. At one point, the captors decided to split up, and one went to go look for more food, and the other one was given the instructions to take these climbers up this steep cliff where they would meet the other captor at the top. The cliff that they were climbing up was easy terrain for these professional climbers, but it was not easy terrain for their captor. So Tommy actually ended up pushing his captor off of the cliff so they were able to make their escape. A couple years later, back home, Tommy accidentally cut off his own finger using a table saw, and everyone told him that his climbing career was over. He was a professional climber, he can't climb without a finger. But Tommy persevered, and he continued to climb, and he continued to push his limits. A few years after that, his wife grew distant and left him for somebody else. And this devastated Tommy, but he continued to persevere and push through that. Sometimes in our lives, we're faced with these circumstances that we're like, what the heck is going on? Like, where are you in all of this, God? Why are you allowing this? But God's in the business of taking the worst case scenario and transforming it into something for our ultimate good. Just look at the cross, right? We killed God, but God took that opportunity to give us life through that horrible circumstance. Today, Tommy Caldwell is known for making the first free ascent of the Dawn Wall in Yosemite Valley, which is huge because up until this point, it was deemed unclimbable, but Tommy climbed it. And the reason that he was able to do it, he said, was because of Kyrgyzstan, was because of his divorce, was because of his finger being chopped off. It was because of all of these hardships that he was forced to endure in his life that prepared him for this challenge. Romans 12:12 says, rejoice in hope, endure in affliction, and persevere in prayer. Lent is this time for us to train like a great athlete to be ready for those challenges that are going to face us, because we can't change our circumstance, but we can change how we react to them, right? Lent is a time to train ourselves like any great athlete to become a saint, to become a martyr. Did you know that we're all called to be martyrs? We're not all called to die a physical death for Christ. That's called red martyrdom, but we are all called to white martyrdom, which is dying little daily deaths every day, denying myself for the greater good or for the love of somebody else. It's kind of like training like an athlete, right? Because when you're weightlifting, think about it. When you're weightlifting, you're making these microscopic tears in the fiber and connective tissue of your muscles. The muscle repairs these tears as you're resting, so that way your muscles become bigger and stronger. And that's the whole point of training, right? White martyrdom is like weightlifting in that way. It's making little tears in our hearts to expand our hearts and give us a greater capacity to love. God never desires evil, but sometimes we experience evil in our lives, like my freaking black eye, for example. But God allows those things to happen because he wants to train our hearts to be ready for the next challenge. But even more than that, God wants to take your sufferings, your pain, the circumstance and challenge that you are facing currently and transform it into something beautiful for your ultimate good. That's way better than you could possibly imagine. So rejoice in hope, endure in affliction, and persevere in prayer. God bless.